There are now more than 244,000 cases of coronavirus in this country, more than 5,900 deaths, and in another grim and disturbing milestone, there are now more than 1 million cases of coronavirus. That's globally. Over 52,000 people have died. And here in the United States, we are still not doing what we need to do to fight this deadly virus because of a complete lack of leadership. The president, who ignores social distancing night after night during his coronavirus briefings, just look at the picture, still won't issue a nationwide stay-at-home order. Dr. Anthony Fauci bluntly saying this tonight.
I don't understand why that's not happening. As you said, you know, the tension between federally mandated versus states' rights to do what they want is something I don't want to get into. But if you look at what's going on in this country, I just don't understand why we're not doing that. We really should be.
So with thousands and thousands of Americans at risk, this president, this administration, playing the blame game tonight, blaming the states and their governors.
The states should have been building their stockpile. We have almost 10,000 in our stockpile, and we've been building it, and we've been supplying it. But the states should be building. We're a backup. We're not an ordering clerk.
Blaming the supply chain.
The ventilator companies themselves expressed concern that in this rush to build ventilators, there would be pressure on that supply chain.
Blaming is easy. Leading is hard. The hard truth is, being president in a crisis means you need to take responsibility. And with governors across the country pleading for life-saving supplies, the president's son-in-law and senior advisor, Jared Kushner, says this.
I got a call from the president. He told me he was hearing from friends of his in New York that the New York public hospital system was running low on critical supply.
He was hearing from friends in New York? That's what it takes to get action from this president? A tip from a friend that things are actually bad right now? That is a perfect example of the complete lack of seriousness from this administration, from this president. We've all heard New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo day after day on live TV begging for supplies.
It is essential that the federal government works with this state and that this state works with the federal government. We cannot do this on our own. I need your help. I want your help. And New Yorkers will do everything they can to be good partners with the federal government.
What am I going to do with 400 ventilators when I need 30,000? You pick the 26,000 people who are going to die because you only sent 400 ventilators.
We have all heard the governor begging for what he needs to save lives, along with others. And tonight, we're going to talk about all the governors, Republican and Democrat, who are doing the right thing for their citizens. Thankful to them. But there are other governors taking their cues from the president, dodging their responsibility. With 93% of Americans, well over 305 million people under stay-at-home orders tonight, some governors are still refusing to take action to protect their own citizens, their own people. 10 states have no stay-at-home orders: Alabama, Arkansas, Iowa, Missouri, North Dakota, Nebraska, South Carolina, South Dakota, Utah, Wyoming. The Missouri governor, Mike Parson, suggesting he's considering a stay-at-home order. Sure. Consider away. Let the clock just keep on ticking while your people are being exposed to this virus. There are more than 1,800 cases in Missouri so far. 1,800 so far. The Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, issued a stay-at-home order yesterday, one that exempted houses of worship, allowing them to continue to hold crowded services, then signed a second order effectively overruling local communities with stricter stay-at-home orders. And then there's the Georgia governor, Brian Kemp, finally issuing a shelter-in-place order today, claiming the reason that he waited so long was that he had only just learned that people without symptoms could spread the virus.
Those individuals could have been infecting people before they ever felt bad. Well, we didn't know that until the last 24 hours.
Listen, I don't mean to be rude here, but people's lives are at stake. He didn't know that for the last 24 hours? I mean, where has he been? Is he ignorant to the point of incompetence? Or is he just lying? It is absolutely not true that we did not know until the last 24 hours that people who have no symptoms could still infect others. Dr. Fauci, here it is, January 31st.
You know that in the beginning, we were not sure if there were asymptomatic infection, which would make it a much broader outbreak than what we're seeing. Now we know for sure that there are.
Everyone who has been paying any attention at all knows that and knew months ago. Yet Georgia's governor claims that he didn't know. He is the governor. And he didn't know and waited until yesterday to finally announce a stay-at-home order. That is nothing but willful ignorance. And where does that come from? I've been saying all along that the president set the table for how people felt about this virus. So where does it come from? It comes from the top. Just listen to the president, his back and forth on whether people should now be required to wear masks.
Frankly, I don't think they'll be mandatory because some people don't want to do that. But if people wanted, as an example on the masks, if people wanted to wear them, they can. If people wanted to use scarves, which they have, many people have them, they can. In many cases, the scarf is better. It's thicker. I mean, you can, depending on the material, it's thicker. But they can do that if they want. Now, a recommendation's coming out. We'll see what that recommendation is. But I will say this, they can pretty much decide for themselves right now.
If you want to wear masks, you can. Scarves are better, thicker. You could do that if you want. Decide for yourself. That's the kind of leadership we're getting from this White House in the midst of a crisis that's already killed more than 5,900 Americans. A complete lack of seriousness on our health and on our economy, quite frankly. 6.6 million people filed for their first week of unemployment last week. 3.3 million filed the week before. That's close to 10 million people in 2 weeks. And the president says this tonight. This was from his briefing.
And then you see 6 million people unemployed, unemployment numbers get released, and you see 6 million people. And it's an artificial closing. It's not like we have a massive recession or worse. It's artificial because we turned it off.
It's artificial? It is not artificial. Tell that to nearly 10 million Americans who are suddenly out of work in the midst of this crisis, who can't pay their rents, they can't pay their mortgages, they're sitting at home, they don't have jobs. Tell that to nearly 10 million Americans, that it's artificial. Really? Let's remember what the Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, said about the coronavirus outbreak in China. This was back in January. Pay close attention.
I think it will help to accelerate the return of jobs to North America.
Accelerate the return of jobs, huh? How's that working out? A complete lack of seriousness from the beginning. Catastrophic unemployment numbers. The economy on life support. Doctors, nurses, hospitals begging for equipment to save our lives and their own. Like I said, America needs leadership. Look for it out there and find it where you can. Meantime, Listen to the experts, the real experts.